Welcome to the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, where rude mechanicals do magic. Hello, I'm Bronze Age, Director of the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And today we're at the lamp bench with the tale of the floor lamp that came this close to greatness. These days, floor lamps are really more of a decorator item than just about anything else. People buy them and put them in their living room just because they like the way they look. In the old days, when electric lighting was a fairly new thing, floor lamps were a very utilitarian piece of lighting because the ceiling fixtures were quite dim. Probably what we would call 30-watt bulbs today would have been very bright back then. And what it originally would have had would have been this. This is the mogul bulb, the mogul socket. It's a three-way bulb, and this one in particular is 100, 200, and then 300 watts, although they were available all the way up to 500 watts, which would give you a pretty bright light while you were sitting there in your chair reading your magazine or your newspaper or whatever else people used to do back in the days when light bulbs were dim. Now it's obvious this lamp is not in original condition. Somebody has gone to a lot of trouble to rewire it, replacing the old parts, and they've actually gone to more trouble than they really needed to do. So we're going to put this back together properly, although not in original condition either. Now this floor lamp has a feature which sets it apart from the ordinary mundane floor lamps. The base has this very nice piece of translucent alabaster, which is the shade for this nightlight. There's a little switch here that you could push with your foot, and the alabaster would glow, and then light would shine out from underneath the base here with these little turtle leg things going on here. Now at this point I need to talk about something that doesn't relate directly to floor lamps, but it's going to come up. This is an ordinary table lamp socket. In the base of it, there should be this knot here called the underlight writer's knot. Its purpose is to keep the cord from being yanked out from underneath the screw terminals. If that happened, you'd have two live wires inside of a steel pipe. Person bends down to pick up the lamp that they just yanked off the table, and they get shocked. Okay, so that's where it goes. That's what it's for. However, when I turn this over, I find there's one right here. There's also one right here, serving absolutely no purpose whatsoever. But whoever rewired this was probably told you have to put an underwriter's knot at the end of the cord and didn't really understand why. And that just reflects that they haven't seen enough of my videos. Now the nightlight switch is new, but it's broken. And that's because, as you can see, the body of it is plastic, which makes it a fairly lightweight piece of hardware, and certainly not the kind of thing that you want to be hitting with the toe of your shoe. So we'll be going back with this one, which has an all metal body. The rest of this stuff can be cut away. This socket is original to the lamp, but that's going to be replaced as well. I'm going to pull the wires while I got it clamped on the bench like this. I'm using an SPT2 cord, which is a little bigger than the SPT1. The only difference is the thickness of the insulation. The diameter and the amount of the wires on the inside are exactly the same. On floor lamps, it's good to have because you can expect a floor lamp to have the cord on the floor, and a little thicker insulation is always a good thing to have. And I'm going to tape this stuff together and hope that I can pull it through without too much trouble. Usually this will work. Trying to push the wires up through a pipe like this that far, you're just going to have too much friction by the time you get there, and it's simply not going to work. So I'm going to put a little bit of furniture polish wax on there. And I can reach the other end of this piece and give it a pull and feed one end and push the other, and it should go all the way through. Now with it all the way at the end, I can do the next best thing to an underwriter's loop, which is just tie the cord around this bar. And this way, if somebody wants to trip over the lamp, they'll have to drag it down the hall with them before they can pull the wire out from underneath the socket. Now, installing a nightlight in the base of a lamp like this is fairly simple, but all the regular things have to be remembered. First, all lamp cord comes with one side is smooth and the other side has ridges. And that's important because it tells you where the wires go, which wire goes to which. In this case, we have a silver screw and a brass colored screw on the socket. And the side with the ridges always goes to the silver screw. And of course, any kind of stranded wire has to be tinned, which means a drop of solder put on the tip of it so it won't splay out and get loose underneath the screw terminal. That's National Electrical Code, and we don't violate the National Electrical Code in the Secret Underground Laboratory. You just wrap that around the silver screw clockwise, however you can get it. There we go. Get it curled around. And when you do it clockwise, that draws it underneath it. Now, the other side is going to be attached to the switch, the smooth wire. The switch is always on the side with the smooth wire. Now, if this were a regular light socket with the switch inside of it, then the smooth wire would go directly to the brass screw. Wrap that around nice and tight. Get this twisted down nice and tight. Well, we just had a camera failure, so I'll recap what got missed. Lamp cord sold in the United States has insulation on one side is smooth and the other side has ridges. If you can't see it, you can feel it. The side with the ridges always goes to the silver screw on the socket. Now, an ordinary table lamp, the smooth side would go to the brass screw because the switch is on the inside. In this case, we wire it to the switch, and the other wire coming out the switch goes to the brass screw. And I cover this up with the cardboard insulator, so in case somebody starts fooling around underneath the lamp, they won't accidentally touch a hot wire. And the whole thing goes into the little hole for the switch, and that's how we're going to mount our nightlight in this floor lamp. Back up on top, I'm going to strip out these old sockets where we find another unnecessary underwriter's knot. These are called hickey sockets because this piece of hardware here is called a hickey. And we're going to be replacing it with this style socket, known as an Edison candelabra socket. I put the blue thread lock on all threaded fasteners because lighting hardware is fairly lightweight. And if you tighten it down so tight that nothing could possibly move, there's always a good chance you're going to strip something. I want to get this down tight enough that this bobiche can't spin. Then I've got this coupler I'll give it a little dose of the blue goo. A little short nipple. And the reason I'm using the coupler is because customer wants the sockets to be exactly 2 3/4 inches up. And this will do that. I could get some other sockets, but I've got these in the drawer and might as well use what you've got. Now I'll put a black stripe on the smooth wire so that when it comes up out of the pipe there, I'll know which one to pull to which side. I want the ridged one over here, and I want the smooth one to the other side where the brass wire is. Now, part of lamp work that's just as important as the underwriter's knot is tinning the ends of the wires. Lamp cord is made up of many strands of wire, which makes it flexible and easier to use. But the National Electrical Code says it cannot be used under a screw terminal. So what we've got to do is put a little drop of solder on the tip here before we install them. When you buy a lamp cord, it will come with the wires pre-tinned and you don't need to worry about it. But it is something you have to do, especially when you're using wire off of a roll, or you've got to cut your cord set for some reason. But just a little drop on the end is all that's needed, and that will keep these wires together once that screw is tightened down. Now the ridge wire always goes under the silver screw wrapped clockwise, so that when you tighten it down, it pulls the wire under the head of the screw and instead of pushing it out. Do the same with the brass colored screw and go on to the rest of these sockets, and we'll be ready for the work inside the main body. Now the way it was when it came in, we had this piece like this. No switch, no key, no nothing. All 4 lights came on at the same time. Really can't use that. Now this is the original setup. Mogul bulb, mogul socket, sat in here. The key went right into this little slot. And the bulb, the center of the illumination, was right about that distance right there. Now, this is a 3-way socket. This is also a 3-way socket with a key. But the problem is, if we use it to where the key lines up, the bulb is much too low. We need the bulb to be up right about here. So the solution is another 3-way socket, which doesn't have a key. And what we'll do is we'll install the socket on the necessary hardware to get the bulb up to about that level, and then a 3-way switch can be installed here in the original keyway. Everything in life is a hardware problem. And this hardware solution starts off with this adapter, which came with the lamp when it was brought in. It adapts the large 1/4 inch lamp pipe to the 1/8 inch lamp pipe, which goes into a hickey. And you'll notice I've got a nut here and a nut here. That is to prevent that pipe from turning. Locks it down nice and tight. That should always be used with any kind of a hickey. Here we have a 3-way switch, which has a black wire, a blue wire, and a red wire. And the black wire is soldered to the smooth wire of the main cord, just like it was on the nightlight switch. Up here at the top, we've got our 3-way keyless socket. It has a silver colored screw, a brass colored screw, and a black screw. The ridged wire always goes to the silver screw. That never changes. Over here, though, it does make a bit of a difference, is that the blue wire goes to the brass screw and the red wire goes to the black. And that determines the sequence of the lights. You turn it on, you should get a dim light. You turn it one more time, you should get a slightly brighter light. And then when you turn it the 3rd time, you get a full bright light. If you get these two backwards, you're going to get your semi-bright light, then your dim light, then your bright light, and that could bother some people. So it's just as easy to get this right, and it doesn't upset somebody. Now putting it together is sort of a matter of playing like it was a puzzle, getting all the pieces in place. And we're ready to put the whole thing together now. And we have another three-way switch here for the secondary lights. Next, I gather up all the ridged wires into one nice, neat connection and put enough solder to make sure that it soaks in all the way through. And that will keep all these wires in position while I'm having to fool around with the rest of them. And this is the kind of point where you count your wires carefully and check, because it is a real pain in the ass to have to undo a solder connection and redo it. Now the next connection is the smooth wire from the main cord, the black wire from the switch in the body, and the smooth wire that comes down from the candle cup. And again, I want to make sure I get it hot enough that the solder soaks all the way through. It makes the best possible connection. Now we're left with 3 smooth white wires, a red wire, and a blue wire. And the sequence in this switch is 1 light comes on, 2 lights come on, all 3 come on. And to do this, we hook up 1 wire to one of the smooth wires, and the other 2 put them together with the blue wire. Now, which is which? In this case, honestly, doesn't really matter. It's not going to bother anybody the way the three-way bulb and a table lamp would. We solder these together, and we're ready to bolt it together and see if it works. Now, just as all connections in the secret underground laboratory are soldered, they're also sealed in shrink wrap tubing. Now that all the wires are packed in, this little screw holds the cap on. I can go find some light bulbs to see if this thing actually works. This is Bronze Age for the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, and thank you for sitting through this video about putting a very nice floor lamp back to its original function. I appreciate it if you would hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, tell all your friends and your family, and comments and questions are always welcome. So again, thank you for watching.